Hello. All right. So we're super excited that you all have come. We literally filled up the attendance as far as we could for our registrations go, as far as registrations go. So thank you all for attending. Thanks for a lot of you coming as early as you did. I know it takes probably the next 5 minutes or so. The rest of the people will show up. But I just wanted to introduce our speaker today. His name is Micah Mitchell. He's been working on membership sites for how many years now, Micah? It's been forever because I know I've learned about you way back when I was even starting Infusionsoft stuff.
Yeah, maybe 10 years or so. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah, so I can't think of anyone that's been doing it longer than Micah. But today he's going to go through a lot of the membership sites that he's seen. He's going to talk about best practices. He's going to show you the best of the best examples of these membership sites, and he's going to tell you everything you need to know about how to make a membership site that will actually kick butt. So without any further delay, I'm just going to hand it off to Micah and let him teach you guys everything he has to show.
All right. Well, thank you, Bryce, and thanks everybody for coming. We got kind of a fun little piece put together for you. I'm going to show you some kind of general stuff, not basic, but general, to ground it. And then we are going to have Bernardo, who's on the line, who is one of our partners and clients, who's made a really, really incredible membership site, show you that, where it integrates his site with Plus This. But I'll just kind of kick it off with some of the basic stuff. So my kind of title here, Luddite Tech Specialist, is something that Ryan Chapman called me, which I thought was kind of fun, so I'm hanging on to that. It just means I'm not really an early adopter of technology, and then also a social media recluse, so not kind of a typical internet marketing person, but I do enjoy it, so I'll just jump right in. What I want to talk about first is what you should be afraid of, and this is not really a play on fear. This came up in a mastermind that I'm a part of from a really high-level guy who has a national company, and what he was asking about is what could disrupt his business. So similar to how Uber, for example, disrupted the taxi industry, he's got this really big national business with all these franchises, and he just, he doesn't want that to end or be screwed up by something that he doesn't see coming. So he's asking us as a mastermind group, what could disrupt him. And what he's really asking about is what trends are out there, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So there used to be this concept of SWOT. I guess there still is, but it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's how businesses would kind of analyze themselves and, start some strategic planning. But it was based on an internal thing. Strengths and weaknesses are internal for your company. Opportunities and threats are external. And it's been replaced for smarter companies with this SWT, which is strengths, weaknesses, and trends. So instead of opportunities and threats, which are external but typically within your industry, you want to look at broader trends. And that's because those trends can and might take your business unless you are aware of them. So the big trend I want to talk about for a little bit is the access trend. And it's really about this whole subscription economy and access generation where people don't want to buy or own. They really don't want to be tied down by stuff, but they do want access. So it's kind of like rent versus buy. If you think of Netflix or Spotify or Zipcar, all these services are coming out where instead of, buying the video or buying the music or, buying the car, you can get access to it. And in the video arena, it's gone through lots of transitions, but for example, VHS to DVD, one of my sisters had bought hundreds of VHSs, literally shelves in her house lined with these things, and then eventually, switches them over to DVD, and then finally it's really all here, right? So I'm going to go through a couple of these examples, but Netflix pretty much killed Blockbuster and everyone else like that as well at the time because they moved first. They provided access to a lot of stuff very cheaply, and they didn't make their own movies or shows until later. So what they did is they got started on undervalued intellectual property that was already out there, just wasn't really being used that much. That's how they started their platform. And now because of that position, they have access to crazy data, meaning they can see when people are watching, how much, what type of stuff. So for example, binge watching. I don't know how many of you have ever watched an episode of a show, and then another and another and another, and pretty soon a few hours have gone by. Kind of flies in the face of lowering attention spans, right? So they're aware of all these trends and how it all works. And, that's one example. Amazon Prime is another cool example where they have over $1 billion a year in subscription revenue just from Prime, it's estimated. But that's not really as important as this other thing they get from that, which is that their members spend more. So their Prime members automatically think, hey, I'm paying this money for Prime. I should shop on Amazon first. I should get the most out of whatever it is I'm paying, right? So there's another good example. This one, you can probably guess what I'm about to say. It's Massage Envy. And even though it's a service business where they're trading time for dollars, what they can do is bill members for consistent massages. So what's interesting, when I signed up for Massage Envy, they didn't say, you know, how many massages do you want? It was how often do you want a massage? And there were checkboxes. Do you want it weekly, twice a week, monthly? And so they're really kind of from the get-go saying, hey, this is going to be a consistent experience. And you also get discounts on massages and other services, but there's something else to the reason they're doing that. We'll get to in just a moment, something really, really important. But moving ahead to another example, WhatsApp is kind of fun because it's just $1 per year, which doesn't sound like a good business model. That's not very much money. But they had 450 million users. This is as of a little while ago, and they were getting about 1 million users per day. So Facebook acquired them for $19 billion. And what I'm really talking about here is, again, just having access or subscriptions, recurring revenue, and that kind of stuff. So another guy, you guys are probably familiar with him, really kind of funny company. So Dollar Shave Club, they do something different. It's consumables as a continuity. So they have their razor blade cartridges that, or blades, I should say, that they're selling on a membership basis. And what I'm trying to point out here, we are going to go deep into membership sites, but it's not just membership sites. There's a lot of applications, and you can use all of these together. So these guys, Dollar Shave Club, they're not really funny, but they're hilarious. If you watch any of their videos, they're fantastic. And what they did is they got in with razor blades, but now they're trying to take over the whole bathroom. And they're doing it, you know, one of the products, for example, is called One White Charlie's. I'll leave that to your imagination as far as what it is. Good example, Costco. And I like here, I think this is Aramir or Bormir, whoever, saying one does not simply pop into Costco. I don't know about you, but I always walk out with a couple 100 pounds of stuff that I didn't intend to get when I walked into there. What's interesting about Costco is that they position as a wholesale company, and some of the thinking or psychology behind it is that if it's good enough for restaurants or good enough for big businesses, then it's good enough for people. It's good enough for my family. So they kind of aim at power users, but as a side effect, attract a lot of other people as well. And their members also spend more. They'll wait to buy. So even when I was living in Colorado and Costco was 45 minutes away, if I ran out of something, I would think, oh, I can just do without it until I go to Costco again. It wasn't going to the grocery store was like a last resort because I was a member. So again, with this whole membership thing, there's a lot of different ways to do it. One example that's a little more kind of membership site is dancestudioowner.com, where this dance studio was very successful. They had a successful business, and they started selling a lot of their concepts and tactics and strategies to other dance studios based on geographics. It was studios that weren't in their area. They couldn't really be nationwide. So selling that stuff wasn't really hurting them because these people weren't competitive. They're in other states and cities and so on. And what they gained was access to all these dance studio owners, obviously, right? What they did, though, is they sold to a dancewear company who wanted access to those dance studio owners in order to sell their merchandise at those studios. So membership sites are a great model, memberships in general, subscriptions, and it's a gateway to new customers. What you can do in a lot of those cases is they're offering the front end for less money. So instead of just trying to sell you a bunch of stuff or kind of get the sale, all the money, all the profit right up front, they're offering the front end for less to get a giant mass of customers, because those customers will end up buying back-end products because of goodwill. If you can please customers on the front end and get them in, get them engaged with your brand, a lot of times they'll buy more stuff. And the back-end products don't necessarily have to be cheap. A lot of times it's really just the front end that gets the consumer engaged that is cheaper. And so you do see this in membership sites with free memberships or dollar trials and stuff like that. We'll get into some of that. But just to explain a little further, your number of orders is going to go down as the price goes up. So if you want to claim a dominant market position, you can do so with a lower front end. On the back end, though, again, it doesn't have to be cheaper. You could charge a regular or even a premium fee for some of that once you've established the relationship, but it is going to be cash versus keep, meaning you either take the cash or you keep the customer. And in some cases, you can do both. Some people will stick around. But if you want that long-term relationship, you want to make it really reasonable, again, to build up that dominant market position. So I've got a quick question for you, kind of cheeky, but which would you rather have? This, right, 75 cents, or this, $8. So again, it's 75 cents or $8. And this is really the value of a one-time business versus a subscription, because a one-time fee business, let's say you have a service business or you're selling widgets or whatever it is, when you go to sell that, kind of a rule of thumb is you can usually get 75 cents on the dollar for the revenue that you had, let's say, the previous year. With subscription businesses, there's this concept of MRR, monthly recurring revenue, and when you have a subscription business, you can usually get 24 to 96 times the MRR depending on your size and churn. And so, I mean, the difference, again, it really is like 75 cents to multiple dollars just based on how you bill your customers if the relationship is one where you bill them ongoing. And if you're not selling your business, it's really not a problem. My name is consistency. I'm related to success. We should hang out more than every once in a while. Most companies have really lumpy revenue, which means if you were to graph it or chart it, you would see that it goes up and down based on seasons, based on sales, based on whatever. But with consistency, you get efficiency. You can schedule out your team because you know the work that's coming up. And that's versus having your team be bored, complaining, worrying about things, and you paying them to sit and worry about, whether or not there's going to be a job next month because there's no customers coming in, or complaining because it's way too busy. So you can kind of iron that out. It's also helpful when purchasing resources. Waste not, want not. So a good example is maybe a flower shop where they typically have more than half of their inventory being wasted, just spoiling, whereas a flower shop who, let's say, sells a bouquet of the month and gets to know your birthday and your anniversary and has holiday bouquets and so forth, or one that caters to hotels to replenish the flowers in their lobbies, they know exactly what they need to do, and they can waste a lot less. So if you imagine wasting 50% of your inventory versus changing that down to 10% just because it's more dependable, that's going to make a huge, huge difference. So do you want more subscription revenue? I imagine the answer is definitely yes. And here's this fantastic internet marketing picture, right, of money flying out of the computer, or you got to have the guy on the beach like making money from his laptop. And mostly people use that to sell scams, but anybody using Infusionsoft, this is somewhat true because they build their subscriptions about 1 or 2 in the morning, and you wake up and there's more money that's been billed, and you wake up and there's money that's been deposited in your account. So it's not that far off. If you're, again, using Infusionsoft and selling subscriptions, probably a lot of people on this call are already living that. So now for an extremely biased statement. At least it would be biased if it weren't totally true. I want you to be open to this for just a minute, and that's that every business needs a membership site. And that's a fact. Every business needs a membership site. And it's because you can provide information. You can have lead magnets, which is most people would do some sort of PDF sent to your email or something. But really it's info or access to resources. So you can provide information for internal training for your team. I think of sales and customer service as a great application for this. A lot of times with sales and customer service, there's high turnover in those departments. There's the need to train a lot of new people as people go out. And if you don't have this in a structured environment like a membership site, a lot of times you're going to get inconsistent training, whether the trainer that day is on his game or not. Maybe he had a bad day, maybe he forgets to include some of the things. But if you record that and put it into a site, then you have consistency the whole way through, which creates a consistent experience for your clients. You can use this as supplemental training for your clients. And Medispa is a good example where they have pre and post procedure training in a membership site for things that actually happen in person with the doctor or whoever's administering it, so that, there's a couple reasons. One, improve the client experience, but in the Medispa example, it's actually kind of important because it helps limit their liability. They can have training online, and then they can show, hey, not only, did we tell the client, did they sign this document, did we review it with them in person, but they went online and watched the video. So you could use, for example, Plus This is video triggers to show that they got through the videos. And we'll go through another way to track that as well in a couple minutes. But, of course, there's also regular old memberships, which I would imagine is why most of you are here, is because you want to sell some content, sell some information. But it is a lot more than that. So membership can also mean community, interaction, belonging, networking, a way for people with interest in a similar subject to get together, access to discounts or products. That's kind of like Costco and Amazon Prime. And there's always the opportunity for a mix of these. So it doesn't, I'm showing some examples that aren't necessarily info products, but I know a lot of membership sites who, for their members, they get discounts to live events, they get discounts to other info products that are maybe physically delivered, books and things like that. A lot of times membership sites come with either a monthly webinar or office hours. I kind of like the idea of office hours more. Having run my own membership sites for a long time, there were months where I didn't really have anything interesting or new to say, but I had a monthly webinar. So I had to get in front of clients and talk to them. And my current membership site, we haven't been doing those for that reason, because I didn't just want to bore people or have to talk, just because it's on the schedule. Office hours are kind of cool because you don't have to plan content. You can share a few nuggets, but it's an opportunity for clients to come and engage with you. You can record that, post it in the members area, and it also kind of sets a precedent for the clients that, hey, you don't just have full unbridled access to me. You can ask questions, but we'll be answering them on this office hours call. So it kind of controls the interaction and limits the exposure, if you will, which can be really important. So another way to do that I think is really interesting is using critique certificates or 911 calls. A critique certificate along with a membership site would be something like, when they buy, let's say they sign up for year access, and you give them 2 critique certificates, and you say, okay, the first one is good after you've done the first 3 modules. So you have to not only go through the content, but you actually have to do whatever it says you're supposed to do. And once you've done that, you can turn in this critique certificate, and I'll have a look at it and give you feedback. So it does a couple things. It tells them, hey, look, there's this value out there that's available, but you have to do something for it. So you have to engage, and then you're going to get this thing. Thus, having it in kind of a certificate form makes it so you're delivering something right up front. It's, hey, here's this stuff. This certificate's worth whatever it is because it's your time. It probably is pretty expensive, and you can only get it when you do this stuff. So it kind of puts the person in the mood of, well, I need to do this stuff. I'm going to be around for a while. It's maybe going to take me a while. But it also gets them the benefit. It gets them through the content and actually doing it, not just watching it. The 911 call is a little bit similar, but this is where you say, look, once a year you get a 911 call. This is where if you have an emergency, or if you have a big opportunity, if you need some advice on negotiating something or crafting an offer, you can turn in this 911 call. And again, it sets the precedent that, I'm not just completely available, or you, the guru, are not just completely available to your members. They can get to you through this structured fashion. And again, by giving them the certificate for the 911 call up front, you're giving them something of value right away, so, to get started. So all that stuff is great. We're going to go through some other stuff. But what's the disruptive trend in membership sites? What's replacing old-fashioned membership sites? And I like to sometimes call it the new. So what is this, right? Where's it going? And what it's going to is called e-learning. In other words, gamification. So I'll give you a simple example. This is my son's Khan Academy account. And Khan Academy is kind of an online school for K through 12. And we put them on there for math. We homeschool our kids. And when my son was 9, one of the things that just kind of floored me that he did is he learned Java on Khan Academy. Now, we didn't ask him to. For those of you who don't know, Java is a programming language. So he learned programming. He learned Java without being asked, online, all on his own. Why did he do it? He wanted the badge. So on Khan Academy, and I'll get into how this works with regular businesses in just a second, but this is a great example of getting people to go through online content. So this is a zoom out of those badges. The top section is the badges he's earned. The bottom section is those he can earn. And he basically went through and he's like, oh, I want this badge and that badge, and the badges are kind of cool. So when he wanted to earn the badge, he would go through and do the course to earn it. And it's based on this concept, at least in the business world, this is starting up ROE, which means return on education. And what you used to do when you'd buy a course or get into a membership site or whatever, and let's think physical course for a second where they'd mail it to you, you'd buy it, but you may not open it. I'm sure most people have an unopened course somewhere. Or you might open it and not get all the way through it. Maybe you read the beginning, you get distracted, whatever, you need to get back to it, but you don't. Sometimes you'll go through it but not implement everything in there. And at other times you might even implement it but get no results. So there's all these barriers to actually getting the value, getting the result, or feeling the value. Whereas with return on education, touching back to Khan Academy and making it kind of more of a business thing, if you look at Digital Marketer, what they did is they took their content. They used to have all this content and training, and it was valuable already. It was good training. I really respect Digital Marketer a lot. I've known a lot of people who do online training and membership sites and events, and they're totally legit. But they took their training and they turned it into these certification courses. So instead of just 400 videos that you can access, a giant vault of stuff, now they broke it down and said there's this certification, content marketing specialist. There's a customer acquisition specialist. So smaller chunks, but it comes with a certification. And there's certifications, there's badges and things like that. What return on education means is now when somebody buys the course and goes through it and they, let's say, get certified or earn a badge, they can then list that certification or badge on their website in a business situation. So if you're evaluating a few companies and they pretty much look similar, but one of them is certified in all these extra things, let's say it's a marketing company and they're certified in customer acquisition through digital marketer and certified in social media management and all these, who are you going to pick? And it's the same for if you're selling to somebody who's maybe, learning whatever you're going to teach them to get a job. They can list them on their resumes. Again, similar people, similar backgrounds and educations and so forth. Who are you going to pick? The one with all the extra stuff. And, listing them on social media profiles, there's a lot of different ways they can use them. But ultimately, it means that your clients can get a bigger and more immediate return on your training, versus in the past where they would just buy some information. Now you can sell a certification course, which is going to result in a happier client. So how does it really work? What you're doing is you're gamifying it. So you can have quizzes, and this is where I mentioned earlier, you can use plus this video triggers, for example, to measure somebody has gone through the video 50% or 90%. Another good way is quizzes where you're gauging their consumption by retention, not just, was the video playing, because they might have got up and went in the kitchen to get a Pop-Tart, but ask them some questions afterwards. Did they understand it? And in the Metaspa example, that's really important, because if they end up in court trying to prove that, hey, we did educate this client, that they knew they weren't supposed to go tanning before they came in for laser hair removal, and the client says, well, yeah, they had me sign this big contract, but I didn't read it. There's too much in there. Sure, they sent me videos, but I didn't understand them. Well, it's a little different when you say, no, we actually showed them this quiz. Here were the questions. Here were their answers. They passed the quiz. They obviously understood it because they got the questions right. Big difference. And, that's for you, the company, and in that case, to avoid litigation. But in the client's mind, too, you're actually kind of keeping them accountable, and they will appreciate it. In my own side, I know a few were annoyed at first, but afterward, they thanked me for making them go through that. Another way to gamify it is by giving them points. So with Khan Academy and with a lot of cool sites, regular business-to-business and business-to-selling information sites, they'll give points for instant gratification. So, hey, you watched a video, 5 points. You completed a module, 50 points. Whatever it is, you can give them the kind of feeling that they're making some progress as they go through it versus just, hey, I watched videos, and if I like the content and if I use it and, really use it well, I'll get a result. This is instant gratification. Also, the badges. So badges can be anything you want. It's for the kid inside, like I showed with Khan Academy, but it's also for the professional because they can put them on their site and on their resume and so forth. The certifications, though, these are really, really, really powerful, even in positioning your site. If there's two sites on, let's say, internet marketing, and one just talks about all the content, the other one has similar content, but it's a certification course, which one looks more legitimate? Which one looks more valuable? And by the way, you're not selling a certificate, you're selling a certification training where the certification is optional. Some people will take that course because they're serious about learning, even though they don't really want the certificate. It may not be important to them, but again, they'll see that as the more legitimate course. And that's why big companies like Digital Marketer and others are doing that. So you can gamify your content, but in a very kind of business-like manner. There's a couple ways to do it. So LearnDash is one of my personal favorites. Optimized Press can also help you do it, and I'll show you some examples of this in a second. Thrive Themes also has a little bit of this. So starting with Thrive Themes, here's a screenshot of what that looks like, where you can see underneath the video, you can check the box. I'll just bring my mouse over here so you can check the box here. You can mark it as a favorite. Over here, you'll see all the lessons where these are the ones they still need to work on. That one's done, just as an example. So here's Optimized Press, and this is one of their page templates where it's kind of cool. The video's nested in this top section. They've got these little clipboards and stuff, so it makes it a little better experience than just a video on a page. And the bottom section of that page looks like this, where there's also a progress bar of you being 40% through. I will say Optimized Press is a little bit tedious to set up. Here's LearnDash, so this is one of our sites where each of these is an individual course, and those are the progress bars of how far they're through the course. If I zoom out on that, you can see they've done the first three. This one, they're part of the way through. If I show you inside that course, again, the progress bar, hey, you're part of the way through. These are the lessons you've done, and below that would be some lessons that are not checked. And then on the side, kind of mirroring some of the same stuff where this is what you've done, this is what you still need to do. And I'll show you what it used to be like, and this is what most websites used to be like. Most membership sites used to just have a list of stuff. At the time I made this, this wasn't bad, links to videos. And if you zoom out on the page, it was a ton of stuff. I shouldn't say it wasn't bad, it was kind of bad. But just saying that this model of here's a ton of content, kind of the spray and pray, is not that great versus this thing, which is a lot more engaging. So to show you a couple of those, images, when they finish a video, for example, and they go to the quiz, they can do, check all that apply or multi-choice or whatever. And when they finish the quiz, it will tell them. It actually does a little kind of animation as it grades the quiz and then tells them that they're done and they can continue and so forth. But this is how you give your clients the best way to learn in a membership site. And we will, get on to how to market these in just a minute. But just to show you that the old, make a bunch of content, people are going to buy it, just really is not going to fly anymore. You've got to gamify it. You've got to position it as a certification, for example. You've got to give them return on education, whether or not they even implement it through badges or certificates. So you can, a few of the concepts here, for example, in our course that trains people on how to use Infusionsoft, one of the important things was making sure they go in the right order, because if they start from scratch but they start on an advanced video, they're going to be very confused. And so we make them do the beginning before they move on. And you could potentially do that at levels. Not everyone has to start at video 1. If they go through, let's say, an intake quiz or a survey or something and they say they're intermediate or advanced, you can have them start in the advanced section but still have that go in order. With the quizzes, you can ensure retention before continuing so that they don't just skip through stuff really quickly. And you can also throttle the speed they go through it. So some people allow people to get to their content on demand, just whatever they want. Others like to spoon feed it. In the examples that I showed there with kind of the tennis videos, he would actually throttle them a bit to say, okay, yes, you can watch the videos, but after you complete one of these mini sections, we're not going to let you have the next section for about 48 hours. And the reason why is it was important to him to have those clients go out and actually go through the motions, if it's a backhand or a forehand or whatever, to go do that 100 times to get it into muscle memory, not just in their head before continuing. Otherwise, they weren't going to improve. And that's what he's telling them is, hey, take my course, you're going to improve. And so now he has the tools to make that happen. So hopefully you can see how this might be useful, how you can provide more value by structuring the way they consume your content, right? And it's making it a lot better, for everybody to do it this way. But I'll cover this real quick and then we'll jump into Bernardo's site. But now that you have, let's say, this really great engaging site, let's talk about how to feed the beast for just a minute. We have a concept within Membarium where you can allow people to come off of Google and engage with your content where they get the first click for free. So it used to be that if you had 100 videos, they would be locked away in a membership site, kind of in a vault, and nobody could really get to them unless they were a member. Well, if you turn this feature on, it allows Google to index those 100 videos. So now you have 100 pages that Google can see and index and rank you for, but when the person clicks over, they're only given the first page. So let's say they click onto a lesson, they engage with it, they like it. When they take their second click, it's going to say, hey, whoa, hold on, you're not a member. And you can convert them from there either to a free membership or get them to buy. Same thing for the Facebook crawler. That way people can share your links and it will show up in Facebook, like it'll pull in the URL and the image and stuff, but when they click and go over, it'll lock them out. You can create teasers or transcripts for SEO, meaning if you have a video membership site, maybe get those transcribed and have the transcriptions be open to the public so they can be indexed by Google again, or even a portion of the transcriptions be indexed. What I like to do too, and have seen people have a lot of success with, is creating smaller videos that go to commercial. So let's say it is a video membership site. You can put teasers, essentially a version of the page for members with full content, and another version, teaser version for non-members, which is a little bit of content. And that might be 2 minutes of a 10-minute video. And after the 2 minutes plays, then it kind of fades in and out and cuts to commercial, you might say, that says, hey, I hope you're enjoying the video. The rest of the video is only available to members. If you'd like to sign up for free membership, which includes whatever, here's how. Or, if you want to upgrade to a paid member, that's fine as well. And you can take those same videos that you create and put them on YouTube. So again, these are ways to attract attention to content that would have normally in the past been locked away behind a vault. And here's just a quick shot. If you look down in this bottom right-hand corner, this is how you turn on Google First Click for your Facebook crawler access. This is a page in WordPress with content, and you just check those boxes, and that's how you get people to turn that feature on. So if, for example, somebody goes to one of our sites and they try to go to something they don't have access to, we just pop up and say, hey, here's this free thing. Essentially it's a lead magnet that we want to capture them with. So you can use e-learning. I covered the uses, but the same use as a lead magnet, you can use e-learning for to deliver a really high value freebie, not just a freebie, but something really high value. You can create amazing membership sites, courses, certificates. You can have internal training for your team, and when you add this whole concept of quizzing and tracking what they're doing, it makes it a lot different. Then when you onboard somebody and you say, hey, you need to go through this training within the next few days, I know with a lot of companies I've worked with in the past, they'd say, oh yeah, we have this onboarding or we have these videos, and usually the ones with some videos were the more advanced companies, but they wouldn't even know if the people went through them. So now if you have tracking to show, okay, they went through them, and quizzes to show that they understood it, and then you give them a time limit on how quickly they need to go through it, you're going to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff and get the employees who are serious. And I'll even tell companies now, you know what, make them go through this in the hiring process. Make one of the criteria for even getting an interview to go through your online training, your onboarding stuff. And of course, you can use this as training for your clients for pre and post procedure. So let's stop for just a minute and do some questions, and then we are going to jump into Bernardo's really, really cool site demo. He's built one of the best membership sites that I've seen. He's going to show it to you and how he uses it with Plus This. But Bryce, do you have any questions to go through?
All right, it just takes a little bit to unmute. Yes, we do have some questions, and people go ahead and ask your questions now. I'll get to them here in a second as they come in. The first question is LearnDash a WordPress plugin? I don't know. So, do you know, Micah?
Yeah, it is. LearnDash is a WordPress plugin, and I think it's pretty cheap. It's something like $100 or $120 or something dollars a year. It's not that bad.
Gotcha. The next question comes from Emily. She's wondering if you've ever used Wishlist.
I have used Wishlist just a little bit, and I like Wishlist. Tracy, who owns it, is a good friend of mine. And the thing about Wishlist, if you're using Infusionsoft to understand, is Wishlist is a general plugin. It works with everything, which can be fantastic, meaning it works with Aweber and all these other things. But it can only go so deep with any of them. So if you're using Infusionsoft, one of my friends says Infusionsoft is kind of a lifestyle choice. You want to be able to integrate a lot more deeply, and that's where Memberium is much, much better at integrating deeper to Infusionsoft. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've used Wishlist too, and Wishlist is very, it's not nearly as advanced as something like Memberium when you compare the two side by side. It's good if you're just getting started and want to just try something, but if you're serious about it, it's not the best platform for it, in my opinion. But the next question comes from Ron Wilder. Where do you get the badge graphics that you showed before? Or if you wanted to do these kinds of things in your own membership site?
Yeah, I'm sure you could find some examples online, but you would probably grab a designer and have them do it. So Badge OS is the name of the tool that you can use with it, and it's a free WordPress plugin that integrates with LearnDash so that as they complete a course, you can issue a badge. So I would look at a lot of examples on Badge OS and then probably get a designer off of Fiverr or 99 Designs or something and say, hey, here's some badges I like. Can you make them for me? Can you adapt them for me?
Good. Yeah, totally. The next question is from John, and this is a good thing that you could address too, Micah, but he's saying that e-learning software is very expensive for large groups. Are you saying we should build this all ourselves? So how can you build like a learning platform without having to spend a ton of money?
Yeah, and I would guess they're talking about like some sort of hosted e-learning thing. The beauty of LearnDash, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I remember 3 years ago even, longer than that definitely, but even just 3 years ago, people would say, oh, I want to track people, as they go through, and I want to check off lessons and have progress bars. And it was an unholy pain to do because you had to create, with Infusionsoft, for example, a tag. So you'd say, okay, they watched the video, make an API call, apply the tag, read out of the API to know they've applied the tag and generate this graphic and all this. Like, it was just horrible. And LearnDash does all of that. So I cannot speak highly enough of LearnDash, and I know there are some others. Again, they're called learning management systems if you want to look at some of them. But the structure that I was showing with the check marks and the progress bars, that's all LearnDash, and it generates it automatically. So when you create a course and then you create lessons and you just assign the lessons to the course, it just orders them for you. It structures the whole thing. All the buttons are generated, like the mark complete button when they're done. It's an amazing tool. I would check out LearnDash, and it's really affordable. It's not based on number of users. It's just, like I said, 100 or a little more than 100 a year.
Yeah, Ellen commented and said it's 129 a year. So thanks, Ellen. The next question, a couple of people are asking about the Google one-click integration with Memberium. So they're asking, how does Google one-click integrate with Memberium to bypass membership access?
So again, if you check that box, when you have Memberium installed on your site, it puts a little box on your WordPress pages, and if you check that box for Google First Click, it's just automatically activated. And so what happens is when the person clicks from Google, it notices, hey, they're not logged in, but it is their first time here, so go ahead and give them a page. But it's setting something, and I don't know the exact technical term, if it actually builds a session for them or just generates a cookie, but it's basically setting something that says, okay, they've had their one click, from now on don't give them any more. And that's why it's called one click, is it'll just give them the first one free, but not the others. And sure, some people might be able to game it by visiting your site from a bunch of different computers or whatever, but that would be the exception, definitely, because they might be able to even get to your content, but they're never going to get the structured, real experience that you're offering members.
Great. The other question I'm seeing come up a couple of times is for more detail on how does the Facebook crawler work, or that thing you're explaining.
Yeah, the Facebook crawler access, when you share a link on Facebook, and I suck at Facebook, but I know this much, when you share a link on Facebook, it like reads information about the link and inserts it with that post, like an image from the post and the description of the page or whatever. So that's what it's doing, is it's saying, even though this is a private page, allow Facebook to get at the image and get at some of the content so that it can serve that on Facebook when somebody shares a link there. So then you can encourage people to share, and a little bit of the data from the page will end up on Facebook so people can kind of see what it is before clicking it.
Awesome. How many more questions do you want to go through before we kick it off? I know we could probably be here for a little while, and we'll have some more time at the end, I'm sure.
Yeah, so one of them that somebody mentioned, just to clarify, and then we'll go and see Bernardo's example and then pick up any straggler questions at the end, but was they asked, are we suggesting you use LearnDash instead of Memberium? And actually, LearnDash only does the learning management stuff, and so you would need Memberium to tie it to Infusionsoft. So they work hand in hand, and we work really closely with them so that any lesson they complete, any quiz they take, any course they finish, can all push notifications back to Infusionsoft. And so a lot of what's happening, for example, for our courses, is when they go in and sign up and go into Module 1, we start a campaign in Infusionsoft that's all about Module 1, reminding them to come in and finish over and over. As soon as in LearnDash they complete it, that notifies Infusionsoft, hey, take them out of the Module 1 campaign, put them into the Module 2 campaign, and it starts up, essentially in a good way, harassing them to finish Module 2. And I was kind of surprised the first time I implemented this. I was just like, oh yeah, this makes sense. But then we were in Chicago with a bunch of members who had gone through it, and I was really surprised. The majority of the room was just like, yeah, I would have never finished any of the content if it weren't for those campaigns constantly reminding me to come back. So that, LearnDash, again, it structures the lessons and courses and stuff, but it doesn't talk to Infusionsoft. So you use Memberium to get it to, open access to the courses when people buy or sign up or whatever in Infusion, and to notify Infusion as they're finishing things. So I know there's a lot of other questions coming in, but again, we'll pick those up at the end. Why don't we switch it over to Bernardo? And again, Bernardo, guys, he is, and I don't say this lightly because I've been doing this a long time, but he is one of the best that I've seen at creating a perfect mix of these features. And I'm going to go through some extra really cool tips and tricks and stuff at the end here after he goes. But he really, it's not just like, hey, how many of the best practices can I slam into one site? It was him putting together a site that uses just the right mixture, I feel, of a lot of things people want to do, because sometimes people are heavy-handed with certain features and it distracts from the overall experience, but really, really cool site. So Bernardo, go ahead. I think.
Oh,
there you go.
hi. I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yep.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Good. Yeah, it takes a while to unmute it there. Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Micah. My goal for today here is to give you an overview of my current membership site, a quick overview of the site, and then my number one way that I'm selling the site right now, which is using Plus this to create a true evergreen webinar. And how's the audio? Just confirming. Is it good?
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully it's good for everybody else.
Awesome, great. So yeah, before I even get started, I just wanted to share how much a membership site changed my business and pretty much why we decided to go for a membership site. My wife and I my wife's a hypnotherapist, and she had a private practice, physical office. People would go in. And that would just, wasn't scalable. And we started venturing into online business and, selling a few products here and there. And we started having a little bit of success when it came to, finally generating online sales and building a list. It wasn't huge or anything, but it was, it was something that we were proud of. But it was never the same. Every month that we had a little bit of success, and then we're like, great, now it's done. We're good. And next month, okay, now we got to sell everything over again. We got to find out how to generate those same amount of sales or more this month again. And that was taxing on us. I had to do launches all the time, and we did 3 or 4 launches, and there was just so much work. And I mean, a few of them really were successful, but it was never consistent. We were never sure of what was going to happen next month with the business. And that's when we had the idea of creating a membership site. And our list was only honestly 1,000 people and 1,200 people or so. And only 200 people were actually engaged. So we weren't sure how we were going to do it. But we did this video series, and we sold 32 memberships. And, we sell it for $47 a month. So it was already a little bit over $1,000 a month of revenue, and we're like, okay, our list isn't big, but now we know that there's $1,000 or $1,050 of revenue coming in next month, and that was a powerful thing for us at the time. And we've just developed this concept. Our membership site is our number one focus right now, and right now we're at about 325 members at $47 a month, and it's really become the basis of our business, because now we know, it's the base for our advertising budget, is the base for our contractors budget. It is the base. It is even personally for our lives too as well, knowing that the business is bringing in that much every month, and it's just me and my wife, and we outsource sometimes, but it's really starting to work out so much that people looked at her membership site now, and they're like, can you build it for me? Can you build it for me? So that sort of launched my own career as well. Now I build membership sites for a living. That's what I do. All day I work with membership sites, and it's a pleasure working with Micah. And Membarium is pretty much the most powerful tool to build it that I've seen. Something that I like to say is that anytime that I ask, about 95% of the times that I ask, is this possible with Infusionsoft and Membarium? 95% of the times it's yes. It's the sky's the limit when it comes to creating your membership site, and that's really the difference, the Membarium difference there. So I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough, and this is the dashboard area. My wife is pretty big on Periscope, so we put this little widget here that they can connect when she's live. It goes live. It's a red button, and they can catch her live stream straight off the button, which is really cool. And this is a Learn Dash where they can see where they are in the courses and their status. You can even expand it, and you can see in more detail where each person is in the courses. And this is a site fully integrated with BuddyPress. So each person they have their own profiles, and like Micah was saying about the badges, we reward members for nearly everything they do on the site when it comes to completing courses and when it comes to even interacting on the site. When they comment, people get commentator, community activist badges. So we're really big on gamification, and that's been great for retention. We had a basic optimized press site before, and it was good. We were presenting the content, and that's what we were doing. It was a great start. But when we decided to go next level, then we really needed to do something a little better when it came to the user experience. And so the cool thing about the library here is that you see the courses that we have our entire sales funnel on the membership site. Everything that members do from, they sign up to our lead magnet to consume it, all the way to, signing up for private sessions with my wife. They do everything through the membership site. So this is our lead magnet. And when someone signs up for a lead magnet, they go in here, and only this button is blue, and all the other ones are gray. And say, join Gray Space for only $1, and we offer the $1 trial for the month. And it's really powerful because now every single lead we get is a member of the site. We actually call them a free member, a light Gray Space member. And that's really powerful because then we don't rely only on email marketing to move them to the next step. And so forth, if they are members and they want to get private sessions, we move them to the next step within the membership site. And we have a credit system as well, which people, when they become full members, when they pay $47 a month, they don't get the whole library because it can be overwhelming. So they get 3 courses, and they get credits each month for staying members, 50 credits a month, and they can unlock more advanced courses here. And that's all running with Membarium. Everything is running through Membarium and Infusionsoft. Cool. So we also have groups, and that's BuddyPress features as well. And it's just being a great setup for. We know exactly how many members are leaving every month on an average based on this new retention features, and it's really powerful to know that, because then you can forecast. You know exactly how many members should come in and should come out next month based on the ads you have and based on the churn you have on the site. And this is all running with Membarium as well. And something that I even think I'm going to write a blog post about it, but that's something really cool. And I'm going to jump into the number one way I'm selling really quick, but I just want to show you this quick feature, is when they click cancel, everybody who wants to cancel their account, we're actually retaining about 45% of them. Every person that is clicking to cancel their account, we're retaining 45% of them, because we have a video that comes next and addresses it's an autoplay video with no buttons, and it just addresses the 2 biggest objections of why people cancel their account, which is, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money. That's pretty much what we've seen. And having this video there with my wife, when the button only shows up in the end, and we give them opportunities to go back to the course library. But I've checked at all the stats on Wistia, that's where our video is being hosted, and we're retaining 45% of the people. Every person who clicks on this button, we have there are 45% chance of keeping them with that setup, with that video. So that's something really, really powerful, and that's all because of this Membarium Infusionsoft setup. And you see the design is the design is done really well as well with the themes. This is all WordPress, of course. So what I'm going to do right now is share the number one way that we are selling the membership site this year. This is our number one focus, is getting ads to this evergreen webinar. And I got to say that I'm pretty tech savvy, and I learned this setup from a friend. And what happened was, I went into this evergreen webinar, and I couldn't figure out how he made it a true evergreen, because usually you reset the cookies and you go to a different browser and you get the page back up. But with this webinar, I couldn't do it. I reset my cookies and I changed my browser. I even went from a different computer, and I clicked on my link and it was expired. And I was like, wow, how do you get that set up? And I asked him, and he told me that, it was everything using Plus This. And that's when I signed up for Plus This and learned the power of the tool. And this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you a quick overview of how the funnel looks. So this is, they're signing up to the webinar, and I'm using EverWebinar from Webinar Jam to sign up. And once the webinar is done, this is our sales page that we have, and we're selling a $1 trial on the webinar. And what happens is, the offer expires 3 days after they sign up to the webinar, and if the 3 days have passed, they're actually linked on the Infusionsoft campaign. They're linked to this. Sorry, the webinar replay and special offer has expired, and then we link them to join for full price instead of the $1 trial. And this is also a replay. But I'm going to show you how that's possible how I'm making this possible with Plus This, and how this connection of Plus This on the sales of creating this true evergreen webinar to selling my Memberium-based membership site is being so powerful this year. And the number one feature that I'm using is the what's the date. And what happens here is that anytime, I gotta log in again. Anytime someone signs up to the webinar, they have the evergreen register for stress relief webinar. The date that particular tag was applied, 3 days later, we're going to store that date on a custom field on Infusionsoft. And that's where it's stored. So I signed up for this webinar on January 3rd. I signed up for this webinar, 3 days before that. And then January 3rd was stored here as the replay expiration date, and that's also the offer expiration date. And if I go back here, the second feature that I'm using is the countdown timer. And this is very, very powerful because that's what's actually creating the evergreen effect. You can actually get this widget code that will be, I actually put it on the sales page. So if you are someone who has that, who watched the webinar, when you come here, there's going to be an evergreen countdown that's going to be based specifically on when you watch the webinar, not a general one that you refresh it and it comes back to 0. It's truly, every time you come to the page, it shows up the countdown for that specific time you watch the webinar and when it expires. And you can also create a link, right? A link to that page using Infusionsoft. So I'm going to show you here using Plus This and to pasting it on Infusionsoft. So this is how our campaign looks like to create that evergreen webinar. And let me quickly show you this. So this is after they watch the webinar. After 12 hours, they get this email that pretty much says, hey, for you to miss out. And I'm offering my entire library of stress relief programs for a low price. And when you come here to the link, you see that this is the link from the page, right? Grace Space Trial. However, it has the Plus This features right there, webinar replay expiration date. So if they click on that link after that time, they would actually be taken to the offer expire page, and that's the true evergreen effect. Very, very powerful. And we're launching. We're spending all of our ads budget, pretty much all of our ads budget currently on making that happen, and we're seeing some good results. Also, another feature that is very powerful is the email triggers, and that's a little bit of a bonus feature that we're using on this funnel. And when someone requests, when someone wants to watch the replay, instead of us sending, hey, here's the replay and it never expires, we're actually allowing that replay to expire as well. So we just create a little bit more scarcity. And the way that we do that is by having, when someone replies to an email, and this is on the subject line, and this is all Plus This, extremely powerful. When the subject line has a replay on it, then we apply this tag, requested replay. And what happens here is that when that tag is applied, we just go ahead and send them the replay, but only if they reply and specifically request to watch the replay. And we see people watch the replay way more when that happens because they're re-opting and they're committing to watching it instead of just being sort of here's the file. A lot less people watch it when that's the case. But here they can watch the limited time replay that's also expiring with that feature from Plus This. And this is it. These are the features that I'm using on plus this to make that happen, and it's working out very well to sell my Memberium membership site. So I'm really, really excited about this.
Nice. And I know there's a little bit of technical stuff in there, so those of you watching, I'm sure Plus This can help you with that side, and you can reach out to us at Memberium for the other side, and we'll even put you in touch with Bernardo. Bernardo, anything?
And can I just say something here really quick too?
Yeah.
When Bernardo showed this to me, I thought he showed it to a bunch of people, and Andrew's kind of the one that's been running this thing too over on Memberium's team. We immediately knew we had to be able to share this with everyone attending this webinar so that they could see how to do this and be able to implement it if they want to use Plus This. So I am going to make this available to everyone who attended. I'll make a guide for it, and we can give you the recording so you can watch how he did it too. We might even make a video guide to go along with it later as well, so that everything Bernardo just shared with you, you can implement in your business as well if you want, as a thank you for attending. And for signing up for a free trial Plus This if that's something you want to do. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. So if they were like, whoa, that was cool, but I have no idea how to do that, we will take care of that part. We'll make sure it's easy for you.
Yeah, beautiful. No, that's perfect. I appreciate you throwing that in there. Yeah, we'll follow up with some stuff because I know we're going fast, and we'll get to some questions here. Is everybody okay if we go just a couple more minutes? I know it's getting close. Hopefully people won't mind too much. But so Bernardo, thank you. I think that's awesome. And I'm going to touch on some of the concepts he's using there. And he's taught us even some about how to use the credits and that. But I want to cover one or two things real quick with people. And this is going to sound a little bit weird, after talking about membership so long. But the thing that really breaks my heart, the biggest mistake in membership sites, is when somebody starts a big membership site. Because starting a big membership site is dumb. And what I mean by that is you want to slow down. You want to think of a membership site, and again, this kind of flies in the face of, my best interest of, hey, everybody buy a membership site, but you want to think of it as step 4 or 5 in the process. And what I mean by this is I had a client who was part of our mastermind group. They built this big, amazing membership site, and they spent like a year on it, and it was awful because when they went to sell it, they could not sell it. So think of your membership site, and I want to mention, by the way, Bernardo's site, that thing evolved over time, his wife's site, I should say, to get that cool. Like, yes, you can start there if you have a proven thing, but just to give you guys an idea of what I mean by step 4 or 5 is you want to test out the concept of whether or not people are going to care. You might have some sexy idea you think is amazing, but do some Facebook ads for title testing on what you might call a membership site. Once you think you have a winner, make a free report out of it and test different titles there. Maybe do a free mini-series and track engagement. If you think these are the 9 things people are going to care about and those are the 9 modules to put in your membership site, make really short videos of those, put them in a mini-series, and see if people actually do engage, or do a webinar or a series of webinars. And I'll tell you, just after ICON last year, it was really interesting to me that I was going to launch, kind of relaunch my membership site, and one of my friends said, oh, do it as a webinar series because, people can buy and you can film it live with them, and it'll be great. You'll make your product. And I announced the webinar series, and I promoted it a few times. 0 people bought. We have thousands of people on our list. 0 people bought it. And I'm so glad I did it instead of spending months and months building a membership site because it would have been all in vain. So I did eventually do a little more research and figured out what they did want and made a membership site, and that was great. But just want to let you guys know that when you're going and you're thinking about a membership site or trying to help a client with a membership site, there are some prerequisite steps that you can probably follow to make it more safe. Now, some people, they already know exactly what people want because people are asking them for it all the time. It might take a little bit less testing, but here are just some ideas that I wanted to throw out so you don't spend too much time going down the wrong road there. Another thing is we're talking about all these different ways to build a membership site and make it engaging. I love that Bernardo touched on how to get members into it with the Evergreen webinar and the $1 offer. I had an experience a couple years ago where this isn't a picture of me, but I felt worse than this guy. I was in a tight spot and was building a membership site and needed to sell it. And for like the first month, it didn't work. And I tried, 8 different sales videos and sales pages and all of that. And none of it worked until I went through some training from Gary Benzavenga. And so I'll mention him here. I don't know him or anything, but I just ran across some of his training, and it helped me develop a hook and a headline and a sales message. And I made a little short video to engage people and offered some payment options. And I went from selling nothing at all to we sold $100,000 in sales, and some of those were on payment plans, so it didn't all come in at once. But it's really important to understand that once you make an amazing membership site, you've still got to sell it. You've still got to work really hard on selling it. So I would highly recommend anybody who's doing this, if you're having some trouble with it, again, if I jump back, do some testing to see what's actually interesting. But then when you do know what's interesting, if it's not working, don't give up, because that was kind of the lesson I took from it is, hey, I failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, and it wasn't that people didn't like it, it was that I just wasn't explaining it very well. So the sales part of this is a really big deal. Once you sell the thing, and feel free at any time, Bryce, to interrupt, but I've got a couple little ninja tricks in a second here. But once you sell it, what's the biggest key to retaining members? It's actually the onboarding. So when you sell it, you don't want this. Like Bernardo said, it can be overwhelming to give people a lot of stuff at once, and so they do something with the credits where they can choose. You don't want this to be people's first experience in a membership site. So a lot of people are doing a one-time welcome video. Some people, a lot of people want terms and conditions, like you have to accept them before you go in, but that's kind of a selfish thing for the client. Just having a welcome video that shows up one time, and what I mean by that is the first time they log in, here's a welcome video. The rest of the time they don't have to go through that again. Doing a quick start at your site, either saying, here's the number one thing you need to do as a new member, or the top 3 things you need to do. Another good stick strategy is asking for feedback early. So as they come in, maybe after a day or two, just asking them. And even if you can't act on the feedback, a lot of times even just asking for it and making them feel involved, making them feel heard, will help improve that experience. And if you can act on it, definitely do. If you can't, help them understand why, take the effort to explain it. Another thing is to get them to customize their experience. A lot of things that I've seen where people go in and they set goals. You can put those in Infusionsoft custom fields and say, what are your goals with the program? You put them into the custom fields, and then you send them emails as reminders that say, hey, come back and engage with the content. Remember, what you're trying to do is insert custom field, right? So you can customize their experience back to them and make them feel a lot more, engaged, a lot more activated. And I'm going to jump into a couple, I'm going to try and go real quick here, so we'll get into the questions right afterward. I know we're a little over, sorry, but I think some of these are kind of fun. So a couple little ninja tricks. One is called the endowed progress effect. And what this means is if you provide some type of artificial advancement toward a goal, a person will be motivated to complete the goal, or more motivated. So for example, if you have a stamp card, and let's say it's some sort of digital stamp card or progress bar or something, if you only had 8 stamps on here, they would be less likely to use it, less likely to come back and redeem it, less likely to return to your location than if you have 8 open but 10 total and you give it to them with 2 of them stamped. So again, this is called the endowed progress effect, where what you're doing is you're giving them, not only the perception that there's less work to do, so a totally blank card's like, oh yeah, I don't even want to start that. But with 2 of them done, and this could be, for example, in the membership site, you take them to a welcome page where step 1 and 2 are checked off, like, hey, you entered the course, you got logged in for the first time, congratulations. Those seem, they don't appear to have that much value, but it gives the person the feeling that they're started. And there's something called task tension, where started but unfinished tasks are thought of more than those not started. So you give them the perception that, hey, I'm a little ways through it, there's less work to do, and I've already started, I got to finish this, otherwise it's going to be kind of on my mind. One of the things Bernardo showed, which he did a really, really good job of implementing that thing because it's a little bit complicated, was the credit system. So them using credits, kind of like chips in a casino to get into the content, can work really, really well. And what he's doing, which I just think is brilliant, and Bernardo, I'll unmute you, but if you can self-mute until you need to say something, but they get credits each month to trade for content, which gives them the ability to customize their own experience a little bit, like, oh, I choose the content I want. It throttles them a little bit, and it makes them anticipate the next billing, and the credits expire if they cancel. So if they've been a member for a few months and have unlocked a bunch of courses, they're going to not want to cancel because they're going to lose access to that. So again, it it's in a way kind of one of those endowed progress effects. And what you can do too that we've seen some clients use is they'll give extra credits for people who engage fast, for people who refer, for people who interact, that kind of stuff. And again, it lets you drip content, or if they want to go faster, upgrade to a yearly membership to unlock more credits or whatever. So there's, some fun stuff you can do there. There's another concept, and again, these are kind of the ninja tricks. They're a little bit more involved, but they can be cool. So you can multiply the value of your content with a parent-child relationship where you sell to one user and they can license sub-accounts around them. And we do this with our Infusionsoft training where if you buy an account, you can actually add 5 of your team members to it. So they feel like they're getting, 5 accounts or whatever. Some people may not need to use that many, but there's a lot of reasons you can do this, especially in the B2B space. You can, a company can basically scale. They can buy one account and give all their people access to it. And the difference between this and just sharing their account with a bunch of people is that when they share it, especially if you think of the tracking and the quizzes and stuff, they don't know who's watched what and who's quizzing. But in this case, everyone actually gets their own logins. And this is a feature of Membarium that we can help you with. But each of the sub, users or the child users has their own login, has their own quizzing, and all of that stuff. So for businesses, again, you can scale it. It provides some consistency since their whole team is going through the same training, and some oversight to the manager because you can set it up to send an email to whoever owns the account when the sub-users complete quizzes and so forth. And it is good for some other situations outside of business like families or teams like sports teams and stuff like that. Another just quick little tidbit, and I'm just trying to throw out some tidbits to help dimensionalize this, but mixing membership with live events usually works really well for a couple of reasons. So there's me on stage at one of my events when I was more handsome, but it'll help establish credibility. One of my mentors talked to me about the credibility shot, which is where you have the camera at the back of the room so they see you on stage, but they see your audience as part of that shot. So it's not just you in a studio making stuff up. The people watching the video understand, oh, there was a live audience here. It actually lends a lot of credibility to the content to know that there was an audience watching. It is an easy way to create a lot of content fast. You can get paid to do it, either in tickets to the event if you sell the tickets, or in memberships if you say, with your membership you get access to this event. So both are good. And then you get the user-generated content, which is the Q&A from the event, which can be really valuable in a membership site because it's not just one way. It's not just kind of talking at people. It's getting the questions, getting to the heart of the issue, and including that in the membership site. So one or two more things, I'll just be quick here, but building a strong community in your site can be really good. I did notice some questions in the chat about community where they're saying, it's hard to get people to engage sometimes in a community. Sometimes they turn into ghost towns, right? So one of the ways that you can get around that is, number one, keeping it simple. You don't want to create too many groups, and this is where I thought Bernardo did a good job with his site, where he didn't use every single feature of BuddyPress because it can be a little overwhelming, and some of them may not be used enough to where it seems like a ghost town. But if you keep it simple and you just have a little bit of community interaction, that can be great, whether it's on your own site, whether it's in a Facebook group. But one of my clients in Australia, I thought he did something really interesting for one of his new sites. He sold, so it's a monthly thing or a yearly thing normally, but to get started, he sold a ton of lifetime memberships. And the reason he did that was to kind of front load the community so there would be less churn versus if they were all monthlies, you'd have people in and out of the community. There wouldn't be as stable a base to uphold it. And so he sold all these lifetime memberships and then, kind of told those people, hey, you're the core, you're the base, and really made them feel appreciated, really got them to engage in the community. And now that he has that stable base who's not going to leave, they're always going to be commenting and moderating and stuff. So sure, he might have given up some revenue, but he created a stable base to add new customers to so that as the new people come in, they feel like this. They feel like there's a stable group of people who are going to pull them into the community. Another thing from another client that they did that I thought was really smart, when they started the community aspect of their site, they planned right from the beginning that the owner was going to post something every single day in the community and ask for feedback, kind of drive engagement. So it wasn't just, hey, we're going to create this community, people are going to come in and talk to each other, it's going to be great. It was, I'm going to lead by example and really engage in the community every single day for the first 30 to 60 days. And then I think they kind of tapered off after that. But they were super aggressive in the beginning, and it set that precedent for the members to check the community all the time and get the discussion going and build it up to a critical mass. So a couple things there. Last little tidbit to go along with membership site is to deliver something physical with your membership site. So don't just have it online. And a good example for me is GKIC, Glazer Kennedy. I get a magazine, so I sign up for their gold program, and I get a magazine in the mail, I get an interview transcript, and I get a swipe file, which is like, here's a direct mail piece that you can adapt for your own needs. What's funny about this membership site, I have never logged into the membership site. I've never been online to their membership site, but I will never ever quit because they send me that magazine and it has a letter from Dan Kennedy each month and the interview transcript. I read those every single month, but I've never been online to their membership site. So definitely think about having an online component. And now if you've stuck around and paid attention, you're basically a membership genius. This is what's happening now in the membership site space. So who's awesome? You guys are awesome. I appreciate you sticking around. Let's get into questions. So, Membarium, it's member, IUM, if you want to go online to membarium.com and ask us some questions. I appreciate your attention, and let's jump into the questions. So, Bryce, go ahead.
Yeah, so they're just coming in. A couple of people are mentioning that they already use Plustis, so you guys are awesome. Thanks for sharing this. And I will make the same things available to people who already are members of Plustis as well. So don't worry about that. And also, we'll have the slides ready for you guys too. So you guys don't have to worry about all the notes you probably have to take this whole time. But yeah, so it's just loading a little slow, but in a couple of seconds I should have a good idea of some questions that are coming in. It's just loading, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Because a lot are coming in right now, so it's trying to catch up to all of them.
Yeah, I'll just grab one real quick. So one person asked what theme we recommend for an LMS. And it took me a minute to understand how these LMSs work. Most of them are not a theme themselves. They work inside of a theme. So you can really use any theme. But Bernardo turned us on to the Buddy Boss themes. I think that's one of them that you use, Bernardo, is Buddy Boss, and we did our new site on a Buddy Boss theme. So both of those are pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a very good one. I try to think of themes that were made thinking of membership and thinking of learning management systems from the time they were built, and that they usually work way better with the gamification. So Buddy Boss is a very, very good one.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jeff or Patrice is asking if there's a replay, and yes, we've been recording this, and we'll send a replay out to all the attendees today. Yeah, my Mac's still chugging, so go ahead and keep going through the questions if you're having better luck with it. Catching up.
Yeah, I see him. So Deborah asked, do you have any evidence that the word membership versus the word program or community sell better to the end user? I like lately the term certification training. The other thing is a lot of membership sites or really successful membership sites will choose their name deliberately. So one that I really like is Casey Graham, who's one of the Infusionsoft Ultimate Marketers. He named his course Get Paid Daily. So it wasn't like the Casey Graham membership or the whatever membership. He just cut that all out, and it was just called Get Paid Daily. So essentially the benefit was the name of the course. And I would recommend that to anybody out there, naming your course exactly what the key benefit is. I'm just looking through the the questions here. So keep sending questions. We'll get to them.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more to Plustis too, as far as like membership sites go. Something that I see that's really popular in membership site customers that they like to use Plustis for are the video triggers we have. What's really cool about video triggers is that you can track what videos people are watching on your membership site inside of Infusionsoft. And you can trigger different kinds of things that happen based on how far they watch those videos. So if you want something to happen when someone finishes a video, you can trigger it to go off of that. If you want something different to happen, if they only watch like the first couple seconds of it, you want to remind them, for example, to finish that lesson they were on. You can have it do that too, and it's all automated, which is really cool. But there's a ton of ways that membership sites use plus this, but that was one that I see that's probably really popular for a lot of these people.
Yeah, those things are awesome. There's so many little nuances and things people can improve in here. So one of the questions is, how do you prevent people from subscribing to a monthly membership and simply downloading all the content and unsubscribing? And it's a really good question. One of the things I talked about in there was kind of throttling people, where you say, hey, you can only go so far, and you can use that with Infusionsoft campaigns, essentially, where the content is released by tag, and you can say, in your campaign, just a delay timer, like, okay, give them tag 1, and then wait a few days and give them tag 2, and wait a few days and give them the next tag. So you can definitely throttle how quickly they go through it. I think Bernardo's example is cool too, where every single time they pay, they get a new number of credits that they can exchange for courses. So it's kind of like, pay as you go. So yeah, you can kind of dole it out a little bit at a time, but some people are definitely going to take advantage of you. It's just going to happen. And one of the things that's come up a few times for us is, how do I protect my videos? How do I make sure people can't download them or whatever? And I think it's kind of a useless effort, because if somebody really wants your video, they'll just screen capture it. Whether or not they can download it, if they can watch it, they can record their screen and they can get your video. So you don't want to get hung up on it. I do have one friend who's so hung up on people stealing his content that he doesn't get it out there, and so he, no membership site is not as good as a membership site that people are stealing from. It's probably a good way to put it. So
yeah, that's a great answer.
One thing, a question from Heather, can you expand on how Membarium integrates deeper into Infusionsoft? Sure. So there are some programs, some membership sites where, they say, oh, we integrate to this and this and this, and they integrate to a lot of things. What they mean by integrate is, you can tell our membership site that somebody should get access to it. So it's like, okay, if somebody buys something, they get access to the course. Or, you can send them an email that allows them to register for the course or whatever if they buy. That's a lot different than saying, well, you can control every single page by page when they get it, based off of events, based off of tags, based off of combinations of things, from their Infusionsoft records. So that's why I said earlier, Infusionsoft is a little bit of a lifestyle choice. There's so much going on in there that you really want, just like you want to customize your marketing, you want to customize your membership experience, and just saying, everybody who buys is treated equal, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's what most membership systems do when they say they integrate to Infusion. It's kind of an afterthought. They have their own membership game going, and they say, oh, well, how do we get access to our membership from Infusion? So kind of, they do it in the most simple way possible, and we do it in, as deep as we possibly can.
Yeah, I see another question that could be really good for you to address. Abby's asking if you see a correlation between the quality of videos people put on their membership sites and how long people will stay on that.
That's a good question. So I'm assuming by quality of video, she means quality of content, not production value. It could be production value, but definitely if you're providing something that they find interesting and engaging and so forth, yeah, they're definitely going to stay longer. One of the old rules of copywriting is it can't be too long, it can only be too boring. I'd say the same thing in membership sites. If it's something interesting, they're going to stick around for more. If it's not interesting, even if it's technically correct or even if it's what they need or however you want to phrase that, if it's not interesting, they're probably not going to stick around too long.
Yeah, totally. Some more people are asking questions about other things Plus this can do with a membership site. I think probably one of the more popular features that you can use on a membership site or just a regular site too is the Smart Link feature. That is really, it's capable of doing a lot of different things, because the way our Smart Links work in Plus this is you can tell you can make a link in your Infusionsoft emails and have that link go to a different page based on the tags that contact has inside of Infusionsoft. So that's how Bernardo did that cool thing with the Evergreen webinar, where he could tell if someone he applied a tag basically after those 3 days to say, hey, this person isn't eligible for the offer we were mentioning anymore. So when they click that link, plus this is looking to see if they have that tag, and if it says, okay, they don't have that tag, they're still eligible, it sends them to that fancier sales page that has all the stuff they can buy. But if it had passed and they got that tag applied, that same link goes to the offer expired page. And so those are you can get really creative with those inside of your membership programs too. And you can have links that are based on lessons that they might have previously finished, or you might have had an upsell and things like that. So that's a really cool feature to experiment with as well if you're making a membership site.
Yeah, I'm always amazed talking to clients. Like, plus this, it has so many uses because it's just like this toolbox of stuff, and the way they cobble together different features is always just like, oh wow, I didn't know you could do that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it looks like we're finishing up the questions. There's just another one really quick that you might be able to answer for John. He asked, what is the widget that allows the pop-out sidebars? Do you know what he's mentioning there?
Pop-out sidebars. I'm guessing he means like when you're on the site and there's that little buttony thing on the side and you click and it slides out. I'm not sure which it is. I know, like we have one on our site from Zendesk. I've seen some that come with different social media plugins. I'm not 100% sure.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I was just curious if you knew. All right, well, I think that's it then, unless you see some other ones that we've missed. And if we have missed them, feel free to email. You can email me at bryce@plusthis.com, or if Micah has an email that they like to take support questions at, we'll be sure to keep answering those questions if you think of any later on.
Yeah, definitely. If there's any questions, guys, just come to our website and go to support, and we'll get back to you right away.
Cool. Well, I appreciate everyone for coming, and especially for Micah to spend his time here and really provide a valuable training on membership sites. I mean, I saw a lot of comments as we were going through that this is some of the best webinar content they've seen on this topic for a long time. So that's a really great compliment. Yeah, and we'll be sure to follow up with the recordings and slides later on. And if anyone's interested in the little example that Bernardo shared, we'll be sure to publish that here in the next day or two as well. All right, thanks for attending, everybody, and we'll have another webinar next month. Talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.